Hey everybody, welcome to the Future Proof Your Retirement webinar. This is a free lunch and learn that we'll be offering every single month on the third Wednesday of the month. So if you happen to catch the recording and you run into people who might, benefit from hearing this webinar, please let them know they can register at futureproofyourretirement.com for our next upcoming free lunch and learn webinar. And our goal with this resource group is to really help people with midlife planning for late life success. And our future proof team is comprised of Alicia Mack, who is a senior living advisor at Oasis Senior Advisors. My name is Jackie Walter. I'm a health insurance advisor with Translating Insurance. And we have Joy McMurchie, our certified financial educator. We also do often have guest presenters speaking on things like estate planning, real estate in late life, and other important topics that pertain to planning for the future. So our purpose when we created this group, the Future Proof team is a resource group focused on educating people so that they are prepared for a successful and crisis-proof retirement and late life. We are comprised of a certified financial educator, a health insurance broker, and a senior living advisor with guest speakers on estate planning, forever home planning, supplemental insurance, and tax planning. Our vision is to bring up those questions that you wouldn't think to ask so that we can help you prepare before it's too late. It's always better to have a plan before you are in crisis mode. And starting it off is going to be Joy McMurchie.
Thanks so much, Jackie. Today, I'm going to be talking about what you need to successfully navigate your retirement and to finish strong. Next. Now, when you imagine yourself entering retirement, what vehicle do you see yourself driving off into the sunset in? For most people, their car might look something like this. 62% of seniors rely on Social Security retirement income as their primary source of income. And with the average income from Social Security being only $1,600 per month, they aren't really going anywhere fast. Next, but maybe you have a 401k or got into some of the more exciting areas of the stock market or one of the cryptocurrencies, and your car looks more like this, sporty and up to date. But would you take that car on anything other than a perfectly paved road? Probably not. What if life throws some obstacles in your way? Stock market drops suddenly, or you have a health crisis. Next, in those situations, you want an income and a plan that will take you through anything. It might not be as stylish as the sports car, but it has the longevity and flexibility to get you where you want to go. Next, when talking to a financial professional, it can sometimes feel like you jump into data gathering and products without taking the time to really discover not just what you need, but why you need it. The why, however, is going to be the foundation upon which your entire plan is built. So I encourage you to find someone who starts there. When you imagine your retirement, what do you see yourself doing? What are other goals that your family has that might also involve money? Maybe traveling, some charity, paying for your grandkids' education. What are the really important values of your family or your legacy goals, and why are these important to you are all going to go into making the best plan for you. Next. These are the 7 money milestones that my firm uses to walk each family through the process of reaching their goals and dreams. Each step is essential. And we always start off with financial education. Becoming financially literate is important, and also finding that financial professional to be that guide. Proper protection has to do with different kinds of insurance. Having an emergency fund is so important for every family to make sure they're prepared for unexpected expenses. Debt management can sometimes mean changing their spending habits, but sometimes they just need help getting out from under the debt that they already have. Sometimes earning extra money is part of the plan, but sometimes it's just a matter of managing your monthly expenses and finding out where all your money is going. For building wealth, you can grow your money really well, but if you miss the impact of taxes, losses, or inflation, you might not reach your goal. And then ultimately, protecting your wealth after you've built up that nest egg for yourself and making sure that your legacy is preserved. Next, so what makes a good plan? There are a few different parts that go into it when it comes to being completely prepared. Comprehensive means, are you covered in all areas? Are there gaps that you might not know that you have, like a lack of long-term care coverage when several family members are likely to need it? That was the case with a set of my clients. They had no idea that long-term care could cost over $12,000 per month. They only had about 4 months of long-term care funding in their savings account when the husband had a debilitating stroke last year. Because of their options were very limited when he needed to go into a care facility after he left the hospital. Is your plan cohesive? Do all parts of your plan work together? Many times people collect a 401k here, some stock there, maybe a rental property, but how do all these work together to help you reach your goal? Can you have confidence that you will reach your goal with the pieces that you have now? Diversified today means much more than stocks and bonds. Instead, we're talking about different types of money. Do you think taxes are likely to go up or down? Probably up. What happens if all your money is in taxable accounts? Many people don't realize that PERS is made of taxable money. Same for 401ks and traditional IRAs. We usually want to see both taxable and non-taxable money, and you should have both a reliable income stream and accessible money on the side for bigger expenses like a new roof or a family trip. Most importantly, both partners need to know the plan. You don't both have to be the money nerds, but I know a couple where the husband fell suddenly ill and the wife had never had to pay a bill or write a check in her life. She had no idea what their income was or where to find their financial accounts. Do both people in your household know everything about your plan, or at least where and how to access important information? Next, another important element is the timing of implementing your plan. As you can see, several things need to be put in place long before you will ever need them. Long-term care in particular needs to be addressed early, because by the time you are thinking you might need it in your 70s or later, if you're healthy, many of your options for long-term care might not be available, since you have to qualify when you are in good health or before the age of 70. My husband's grandmother purchased her long-term care policy in her mid-50s and did not end up using it until she was 92. However, she felt it was 100% worth it when it met the increased cost of her care just when she needed it. Next, let's talk last about estate planning. 54% of US adults don't have a will. That's a pretty shocking statistic when you think about the impact it can have on their families. Next, there are actually 4 documents that you need for a complete estate plan. You need a will or a trust to say what you want to happen to your property in the event you pass away. A will is also the only way you can designate a guardian for your minor children. Otherwise, the state gets to choose. And we all have so much confidence in their decision-making skills these days. The next document you need is a financial power of attorney. This is a document that you will need if you don't pass away, but maybe are out of commission for a little while. You're in a coma, you're in the hospital, someone else needs to step in, take care of paying bills, and so forth if you aren't able to do it. Your advanced healthcare directive, or your living will, in Oregon it's called the advanced directive, designates the person who will make healthcare decisions if you are unable to. And it also specifies what medical treatments you wish to receive if you are unable to speak for yourself. The last document is your HIPAA release form. This allows your healthcare agent and your medical team to discuss your situation and make the best decisions together. One other thing that you might need if you have pets is a pet trust to leave instructions and money for the person who you want to care for your pets after you're gone. Next, let's talk a little bit about the will versus a trust. A will is a public document. It goes through a process called probate, which can cost between $7,000 and $12,000. Wills are often a lot less expensive to put together on the front end, but you can have much more expenses if you're going through the court process. Wills also can be easily contested, and depending on how backed up they are, can take 4 months to 2 years to complete. A trust, on the other hand, does not go through the courts at all. It keeps your assets private, and you don't have any additional expenses after you've set up the trust. It's also not easily contestable, and it's controlled by the family. And the family has instant access to the assets that are in the trust after they pass away. Next. One last thing to cover when it comes to estates is estate taxes. On the federal level, it was originally $5 million was exempt for each person. Currently, it's $12 million, so a couple together would have up to $24 million exempt from taxes. The $12 million is set to sunset in 2025, so not that many years out. And the scary thing about this tax is it's a 40% tax. Every dollar of your estate that's above that exempt amount is taxed at 40%. On the state tax level, the taxes are a lot less, between 10 and 16%. However, it's only $1 million is exempt in the state of Oregon. If you've got a house and a couple of retirement funds, it's very easy to get to that level. So $1 million per person is exempt. In Washington, it's a little bit higher. Their tax can go a little bit higher. California has no estate or inheritance taxes. However, you should probably look at their income tax before deciding to move there. Next. In closing, there are many benefits to working with me and my team. It's free to meet with us, and we never charge for advice. We want to make top-level financial strategies and products accessible to everyday people. You also get the benefit of a large team of specialists. We have experts in life insurance, retirement, investments, estate planning, and college planning on our team to help each family build their customized plan. I'll pass it back to you, Jackie.
Thanks, Joy. That was really helpful. My name is Jackie Walter. I am a health and Medicare insurance broker with Translating Insurance, and I want to talk about health insurance solutions before and after retirement. So a lot of times the clients that I'm helping are trying to figure out how to navigate post-retirement insurance options. They've had a group plan for several years. That's really all that they know. And coming out into the world trying to find your own health insurance or navigate Medicare can be really confusing. So I have a few questions. Would you rather figure out the confusing topic of insurance on your own? For example, questions like, what is Medicare? And do I have to enroll? What if I want to work past the age of 65? Can I delay enrolling in Medicare, or do I have to sign up right away? What if I retire before I'm eligible for Medicare? So you can DIY and find the answers to these questions. You can ask friends and family, but there's a chance you could get the wrong information. But what if someone could guide you through these topics for free? And that's where I come in. I'm here to help advise, help guide, help get these questions answered, and answer all of these questions like what is Medicare in a short webinar, which is why we just set up a free consultation after to get those questions answered. Some of the things that clients ask me on, these are frequently asked questions, is like, what does Medicare cost? Some people think that Medicare is free and that it covers everything, but that's not the case. Medicare is not free. It does have a monthly premium associated with Part B that you pay from when you become eligible and enrolled for the rest of your life. And it doesn't cover everything. There are gaps in Medicare, which is why it's really important to talk to a broker about getting supplementation for your Medicare. Medicare does not cover long-term care. This is a common misconception. People think that Medicare is going to pay for their skilled nursing forever, but that's not the case. So you definitely need to have a plan, like Joy was mentioning, for long-term care. And a lot of times people think, well, my kids will take care of me. But what happens when you're 90 and your kids are 70? Is that really realistic to assume that your kids are still going to be able to care for you? And if they didn't have kids and there's no grandkids, or they're not healthy enough, you really need to have a long-term care plan that's more solid than relying on other people. Another thing that people don't understand is that original Medicare does not have a max out of pocket. I know it's hard to believe, but yes, if you just have Medicare Part A and B, you have unlimited financial exposure. So again, it's really important to know these things when you're heading into that period and even beforehand, so you can start budgeting in your retirement budget how much money you need to set aside for premiums for Medicare, premiums for supplements, premiums for your prescription drugs, and also copays and how much you're going to have to spend out of pocket for the care when you're in this stage of life. One other thing people get confused about: Medicare is not Medicaid. They are two completely different things. Medicare is a federally subsidized health insurance program for people 65 and older, or those who have a disability that's caused them to be eligible for Medicare. Medicaid is state-funded insurance based usually on income eligibility. So they are two completely different things. And being misinformed about Medicare can be a costly mistake. Some other questions that I get: what if I want to work past the age of 65? Do I need to enroll in Medicare when I'm first eligible? Well, the answer to that is it depends. It depends on if you work for a large employer or a small employer, and who is going to be primary coverage. Will it be your group plan or will it be Medicare? And these are the things a broker can help you navigate. What if you have ACA, which is the Affordable Care Act? That's private health insurance that you can get through the federal government. And what if you have tax credits? I mean, oftentimes people who are getting tax credits are paying less in premiums than what the cost of Medicare is. So they want to know, could I just stay on this cheaper insurance instead of transitioning to Medicare? The answer to that is no. When you're eligible for Medicare, you're no longer eligible for the advanced premium tax credits from the ACA. Can you delay enrollment in Medicare until you lose group coverage? Again, that depends on the size of the employer and what type of Medicare you have. If you're eligible based on disability, it's a different answer than if you're eligible based on turning 65. So you'd need to definitely check with a broker. Don't rely on friends or family to get the answers to these questions because they're often wrong. I have access to a retiree plan. How does that work with Medicare? This is another tricky situation because if the retiree plan does not have creditable drug coverage and you don't sign up for a Medicare drug plan, you could be accruing late enrollment penalties, which we want to avoid. So again, there's windows of opportunities to enroll with Medicare. And if you miss those windows for Part B or for Part D, you get late enrollment penalties that follow you for the rest of your life. And nobody wants that. So talk to a broker. It does not cost anything for help. What if you retire before you're eligible for Medicare? Some people say, well, my group is going to offer me COBRA, so I'll just go on COBRA. And COBRA can be pretty expensive compared to getting private health insurance through the ACA plans, especially if you qualify for tax credits, which help subsidize your premiums. So it's always good to check with a health insurance broker to see if you qualify for any subsidies or any help with your premiums before you opt to sign up for COBRA. And there are plans out there that will cover your pre-existing conditions and give you a max out of pocket so that you don't have to worry about, those things being covered. Now, there are windows that you have of opportunity to switch from a group plan to an ACA plan. You only have 60 days to sign up for an ACA plan once you lose group coverage. Otherwise, you have missed your enrollment window and you have to wait till the next open enrollment to sign up. COBRA also is a great option if you're under 65 and not eligible for Medicare. But COBRA does not work well if you are eligible for Medicare because it is not considered creditable coverage. So keep in mind, if you are eligible for COBRA and Medicare at the same time, you must enroll in Medicare and you must set up drug coverage with Medicare, or you will be putting yourself into a sticky situation. So that's it. All I can cover in this short webinar. But if you're feeling overwhelmed by these questions or the topics that we brought up, or you just want to know the answers, it doesn't cost anything to get some help. So my contact information is on the screen, and I'd love to talk to you. And next up, we have Alicia Mack.
Thanks, Jackie. Great job, man. What good material in there. In this portion of the presentation, I hope to leave you with what I like to call some thought bombs, some thought-provoking questions. Has anybody here experienced using a guide service before? Maybe for like a fishing trip or a vacation. Recently, I took a trip to Portugal, and 2 of the best days of that whole trip were the days that we randomly decided to hire a local guide to show us around. Why were those the best days of the trip, you ask? What were the benefits of using a guide? Well, they help explore areas that you might not have thought to look. They answer questions that you might not have thought to ask. They bring you to all the best local places. They have experiences and stories to share. They have experience working with many different people and dynamics. They're knowledgeable in their craft, and they assist people to have a better overall experience. What happens when you don't have a guide? Things can get overwhelming. We're not sure what questions to ask or what to look for. We can be frustrated by all the unknowns. We can be missing out on resources or options that we didn't know were available. The more difficult the path, the more beneficial it is to have a guide. How many people here have experienced some concerns about an elderly loved one living at home alone? Perhaps someone that you think could benefit from having more support? And have you shared your concerns with this loved one? Were you met with responses like, I don't need any help, or I'm not ready to leave my home, or it's too expensive, or I don't want to give up my independence, or I don't want to be a burden? Denial of needs is pretty common with aging older adults. It's difficult sometimes to talk with them about what happens next. As the need continues to grow for support, I often see that denial continues to grow as well. But wait, what if you had a guide? Somebody who could show you and help navigate you through this unfamiliar territory? That's me. So what happens if you're talking with a loved one and you're met with resistance? The worst thing that could happen from not furthering a conversation with a loved one is most likely a crisis. 60% of the clients that I serve wait until a crisis happens before reaching out. They have a fall at home, they have a change of condition like a stroke or a heart attack that lands their loved one in the hospital or a rehab setting. Oftentimes, the family is given roughly 3 days to find a solution. This is why our group is so passionate about encouraging people to prepare themselves before they find themselves in situations like this. What's the best that could happen from continuing the conversation? Gaining some education on what services are offered, what levels of support exist within those options, how much it costs, and finding the right resources with reputable companies. Next. Do you even know the difference between the different types of care? When I meet with families, we'll discuss questions like, when is assisted living not enough care? How do I know if my loved one needs nursing home care? What is offered in an adult foster care setting? How does that differ from assisted living? What is residential care and how does that differ from memory care? What is a spend down? What is a PACE program? What happens if the only asset is the home? What happens if your loved one is showing signs of dementia, but there's not a power of attorney in place? What's the difference between home health and home care? What's the difference between Medicare and Medicaid? What is covered by Medicare and Medicaid? Next. Approach matters. When adult children are perceived as trying to parent their parents, it often results in both parties feeling frustrated and unheard. I've met with several folks who are trying to have these conversations with their loved ones, but they're telling me that they were met with a denial of needs or resistance because talking about moving from the home left the senior feeling like they're being forced to give up their independence. Many times using the right approach in navigating these conversations with a loved one was all that was needed to further the discussion. If a senior feels like they're being cornered or being told what to do by their children, or if they have any cognitive deficits, they'll likely shut down and not want to engage in further planning conversations. Families don't know what to do when their approach isn't working. And essentially, they just end up waiting for that next crisis to happen. This is so common. And I hope to get people thinking about not giving up when they are met with resistance. If we have to, we may just continue to look at options to educate the advocate in the family to help them get a rough plan in place. Let me help you by being your guide and getting a plan in place so that you are not navigating through so much new information during a crisis. There are folks like myself and other speakers within our group who can help families as a guide to navigate a plan and further the discussions before a crisis-making decision situation. Using the right approach is where I come in. I can help you with an approach that feels collaborative and doesn't leave the senior feeling like their children are telling them what they need to do. If none of this resonates with you today personally, perhaps you may encounter a friend or a coworker who's going through this with their loved ones. This is a great time to introduce the resource of a senior living advisor who can step in and eliminate some of the overwhelming stress that goes along with this journey. Oasis Senior Advisors is licensed by the state to provide this service, which is completely free to all people. There are no obligations or contracts for working with me. Let's not wait for a crisis to keep the conversation going. I am your local and knowledgeable guide.
Awesome. Thanks, Alicia. So just one of the things that we recommend in putting together your support team, some of these people you may already have in your life, and that's great. We want you to have a team that works together and has a cohesive plan to help you. So you definitely need a financial advisor on your team, a tax advisor and a state tax planner, a health insurance advisor to help you transition to Medicare, legal counsel like estate planning or elder care, Medicaid spend down advice, a long-term care and senior living advisor, and even a senior real estate specialist to help you navigate your forever home. So we have created this resource group to be this support team for you. But again, if you already have people in these categories, that's okay too, as long as you have someone guiding you. And thank you for the opportunity to share with you today. We really appreciate your time. We do have a resource packet that we can send out to you with information about our speakers today and contact information if you would like to touch base with somebody to get some of your questions answered on a specific topic. We also have a Facebook group, and you are welcome to join it. It's open to the public if you want to join. It's just Future Proof Your Retirement on Facebook. You can also follow us on Instagram. And if you have questions, you can contact us at our email address, which is info@futureproofyourretirement.com. And that's all. So now we can open it up to questions.